Raising dead. I heard a story about a powerful magician. He obtained the power of creation and decided to craft creatures in his likeness. But because his was a power born of earth, those creatures, which looked human, were impervious to fires. It was an odd story, but there is more. Those creatures found themselves in the midst of flames for one reason or another. This led them to the discovery that they were unnatural. They returned to their master, asking why it was that such an oddity was prevalent. "I have created you. You are not human," were his responses. Those creatures went mad from learning the truth. It has always been about truth, and perhaps is why I like this story. Here's my favorite part. One day that powerful magician found himself chased from home, due to awful practices, no doubt, and so he set up camp. While sitting at the campfire, a creature, we'll say it was a wolf, attacked, and the magician fell into the fire. To his dismay, it did not burn. You see, he too had been created, but by whom? He had no way to learn such. Why do I like this story? I like truth. It never plays out the way we expect. It is not a pure light. It is not epiphany. No. Often truth is a dark and murky thing, a veil which we must learn to wield in ways proper to the culmination of our very own life experiences. What is my truth? Well, let's say, death is not the end. He calls himself a necromancer. Gulda ran across the valley of Ash en route to Cormaire's lair. 'Twas a valley rife with death. Ancient bones and cinders remained strewn over barren terrain. Amidst remnants grew gnarled and blackened trees. Puffs of ash kicked up behind the man's wake. Cormaire, the necromancer, as he called himself due to his practices involving unlife, hid away deep in the valley of Ash. His lair, a cave beneath the putrid land, was denoted by a wicked entrance. The cave mouth was carved from a stone, which stood near the center of the valley. Rows of teeth lined the moor, the actual entry. Stooping to enter, Gulda clutched grey cloths. Therein was an item Master Cormaire required to create a revenant. Being an apprentice meant being a liaison, and because Cormaire was unable to travel into town, Gulda ran errands in exchange for knowledge. The young man in tattered dark clothing worked his way through the labyrinth of stone corridors. Each hallway was alighted by torches perched in sconces. Spilling into the sepulchre, the apprentice spotted the aging necromancer pulling entrails from a recently deceased.
"Master,"
Gulda called. Cormaire mumbled without giving his attention. Instead, he dumped the viscera into a bronze bucket.
"It was no mean feat, but I have it,"
Gulda announced.
"Yes, bring it."
Gulda swallowed hard. The master was neither pleasant to work with nor look upon. Mostly, the man was covered in dark robes. Even with the hood pulled low over his face, the wizard exuded power and a foul odor. Gulda approached the stone work table where the dead subject lay with chest cavity open.
"Here,"
Gulda whispered, placing the bundle adjacent the body. Cormaire waved his apprentice off before unwrapping the bundle. Amidst the grey cloths was a polished piece of amber the size of a child's fist. Encased within was a dried angel trumpet flower.
"It was not easy to obtain."
Powerful items seldom are.
How does it work?"
The old man walked around the work table. A plethora of ancient tomes sat on shelves behind him. Candlelight flickered. Cormaire drew back his hood, revealing deep wrinkles. He smiled like a Cheshire cat, his teeth surprisingly clean.
Revenants, my boy, are particularly difficult to raise.
Cormaire explained.
Firstly, the body must have perished from unnatural causes, and the bloodier the better. Next, as you saw, the entrails, gallbladder, and bladder must be removed. Then the cavity is stuffed with chaff, bound in burlap. This is to keep the body dry. Now, we prefer as little trauma to the brain as possible, lest our raised be a simpleton. Furthermore, I prefer to add multiple adrenal glands. These can be obtained from any deceased, so long as they are not overly decayed. Splicing the glands into the body is a simple task, and it provides our revenant with boundless strength and endurance. Finally, the dried flower is used to tie the deceased's spiritual nature to the ether, the between, if you will. If this is not done, a revenant will be unable to follow the orders of the Necromancer.
But, Master, the others didn't require...
The master's eyes turned fierce, a furrow creased his brow, and his jowls sank at the corners. The dread of interruption immediately filled Gulda's heart. He looked away.
Are you finished trying to tell your master what you think is correct?
Gulda nodded. The necromancer's demeanor relaxed, and he continued his lesson.
Revenants are refined creatures. They are unlike the boorish zombies or ghouls, which any inexperienced necromancer can raise. Revenants need a connecting link between the world of the living and the world of the dead.
What purpose do they serve?
Cormaire nodded.
A most intelligent question. Revenants pass for the living. With the proper series of incantations, this young thief here can certainly be mistaken for a drunken ne'er-do-well.
And what will you have him do for you?
Cormaire grinned again. Stealing immortality. The necromancer worked tirelessly over the corpse. Having implanted additional adrenal glands and stuffed the body with chaff, the only remaining aspect of the physical changes was the addition of the angel trumpet. Gulda kept his eyes on the entirety of the proceedings. For the most part, Cormaire gave few verbal instructions.
Man's connecting link is an unseen force.
The wizard started.
It protrudes from the abdomen, 4 fingers' length down from the navel. This force is what we all use to read the world around us, and as such, the angel trumpet is placed there.
Gulda maintained a focused gaze on the master.
What do you mean by read the world?
The universe is magic, the physical body too. Magic is a delicate force, not in that it can be destroyed. No, it can yet be disrupted. Altering natural flows leads to unnatural consequences.
Like bringing the dead to life?
Aye.
Cormaire gingerly slid the amber containing the flower amidst the burlap sacks containing chaff. Then he removed the chest retractors from the corpse. After that, he went about reconstituting the ribs and sternum. To reform the bones, he created bone meal in a mixing bowl. The formula consisted of powdered bovine femurs, pine sap, and human blood. The necromancer placed the bone meal at every severed juncture by way of a horsehair brush. He meticulously wrapped copper wire around every area to hold the bones in place. Suddenly, he left the sepulchre through a back door behind the bookshelves. Gulda remained in thought while looking over the corpse.
I hope this is worth it. This place is a wealth of knowledge, but what good is knowledge if it does not yield power? Furthermore, what good is power if it leaves one in such a state as Cormaire? He is alone, feared, hunted, and obviously in fear of the world around him.
His were the ponderings of a man with little to lose. Gulda was young, but had little use for a normal life. His parents had died while he was a boy, and he had no other family.
What was I supposed to do, become a thief? It didn't serve this man. He hanged for stealing. Soon he will serve Master Cormaire as a creature of the night. I can't help but think of that story. The man who turned out to be nothing more than a creation.
His thoughts trailed away, yet he kept his gaze on the corpse. Candlelight cast dancing shadows from the remnants of bones and tools in the cavernous room. As hours passed and the bone meal dried, Gulda busied himself with arcane texts. It was rare to ever see Cormaire doing the same.
How old is he now? 200-something?
The texts revealed little of which Gulda did not already know. Mostly they provided detailed rituals for healing. Cormaire simply applied the practices in a contradictory way. Other texts held incantations for menial magics, such as casting spells of fire, or spells which reveal people's tracks.
Useful for a man of normality, but I am seeking much more than that. Thanks for listening to Part 1 of Raising Dead. Part 2 coming soon. Visit storiesbydennis.com. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel.